we might start with you, STW. You've got a bunch of agencies, all sorts of media specialists, pure plays, creatives. You've got full service, and there's all sorts of things going in your business. Firstly, what do you make of that? How does it fit in with what you're trying to do with your business and your various agencies?
Well, that dashboard that you showed us means that I can now plan my own media spend by the look of it. Is that where we're going?
That's what we're talking about.
Right?
Yes, it's true. Right, that's the whole point, I think, Mike.
Yeah, I think from our group's perspective, we've got a foot in all the camps. Icon is our big independent brand in this market, and they've been quite public about the fact that they're going to a more full service model, and they're having a lot of success with that. And on the other side of that argument, we're shareholders in both Mindshare and Maxis in the Group M world, and I know for a fact that WPP really don't believe that media and creative agencies will come back together. And my argument in that is that if there's two horses in a race, why wouldn't you back both of them? The guys from Ogilvy are here, and they've got a very successful media business sort of hidden within Ogilvy called Neo, largely digital at the moment. But I know that they've got big plans to really accelerate that, because there is a view that everybody's sort of converging into the one place. I've got a very open view to what happens. I don't really mind. We've got clients. So just yesterday, I had a conversation with a very large client who was very much against bringing media and creative back together, because, as they described it, we don't want groupthink. And then we've got a bunch of other clients who are saying, "Can you please break down the complexity? We just want it all in the one place." Even to the point where they say we'll have the strategic and creative conversation in one and the transactional in another, if that's the way you want to do it, but we just want you to help us break down the complexity. So every client's different, and I think we've got a solution for every different one of those clients. The one thing that I would say about the content that we've seen today from you guys is clearly it's a really strong platform that you've got. What I think needs to happen with the creative agencies in particular is have more of a conversation about the way they can engage in the content, with your personalities or whatever it is in a creative sense, rather than looking at through the lens of buying a media plan.
Good. Paul, Wyman TVLEA, what your take?
Yeah, look, it's the content partnerships that I think could be most interesting for us. I think most content that's produced in this country is crap. Even the Umbrella Content Awards the other night, it was a TV ad, let's face it, that won, which was the Netflix thing with Ricky Gervais. I think you guys are better at content than potentially what we are. And, it's all about definitions. I still believe advertising has a very important role, an increasingly important role. And I think, brand advertising and brand ads, I think there's a real swing back to them. But in terms of producing content, you guys are better at doing it. You've got access to talent, you've got access to cost-effective production and distribution models. And it's at that level that I'm interested in partnering. We'll still do the big brand stuff, but in terms of the utility stuff, the useful stuff, so for instance, if I'm Tourism New Zealand, we'll do the 100% pure aspiration ad, but we need help to do the next level. So for instance, we've just done a campaign for Wellington, and showing the sites of Wellington, what we can do in Wellington. Now, perhaps we should have come to you guys or MCN and said, look, can you partner with us to tell the story of Wellington? Because you'll do it better than we do. So I think that's the interesting bit, content partnerships below, if you like, the big brand stuff.
Yeah, it's good. And Ben, you'll be different again, because you've started a media business inside the creative company, and you, I think, just recently won AGL full service, right? So you may have a different perspective again as a creative company. Give us your take on both the content here and where you see it going.
Yeah, well, I think from our point of view, we're viewing media as really just another creative service that we offer under the creative agency banner. So it's not a standalone. We haven't branded it separately, and really that's very much in response to client demand, because we've had the same experience. We've had some clients not interested, and that's fine, but we've had other clients who are frankly quite frustrated with their media agency approaches and have just asked us whether that's something that we could help them with. And from our point of view, there's a dollar in it, there's a lot of dollars in it, so of course the answer is yes. I agree that we've seen some good tools today, so And we covered off all the buzzwords: content, programmatic, a lot of programmatic. That's good.
Yes.
And we're already using we're using a lot of those sorts of tools because, frankly, it's not necessarily unique. The programmatic platform, the content strength, and so I guess our point of view is exactly the same as what our clients is, which is, well, how can we best integrate those with, the suite of all the different offerings from different media providers that we're tapping into. And the more that we can do that directly for the benefit of our clients, and not necessarily having to use other media agencies, the better. I also agree with the comments about content as well. Again, it's a real buzzword that most agencies don't seem to have done a good job of actually just haven't done a good job. There's not a lot of great content. I'd like to do more of it, but we're having trouble making that much money from content because just the differing, the way the numbers stack up. We make a lot more from a 30 or a 60-second TVC still than we could from a series or a five-minute piece of content or whatever it might be. So there's definitely big opportunities there from a creative agency point of view because I haven't seen any creative agencies do a good job of setting up a dedicated or standalone or integrated content offering.
I think I was talking to some of the Clemenger guys that are talking about video and content being a much bigger part of it than it has been. The money may not be there. In terms of your people, Ben, the media side, the planning, you talk about programmatic. With guys' shoes like that, it's surprising programmatic because it's more kind of content.
I know all the buzzwords.
I should say that Ben is actually McCann World Group too, chairman of McCann. So that's where. Give us an example of what you've done on an integrated part for one of your clients and how you've bought media, how you've planned content. What have you? Have you got a good example you can give us?
No.
Right.
Not a good one with a strong approach to content. Frankly, the best success we've had with content has been accidental. So, one of our most famous campaigns, obviously, was Dumb Ways to Die, which essentially was a content piece at the centre, which then just exploded outwards. And I'd like to say that was all entirely deliberate, but it wasn't. It just did very well, did much better than we expected, did much better than the client expected. But the strength of that was the fact that it was a deeply strategic and creative idea with the brand and the client's purpose at the core, with digital at the core, that because it worked so well, we were able to then keep on creating content around it. We still are, 4 years later. And
it's 4 years, is it? That's amazing.
I think so.
Yeah.
And it was, to use another buzzword, genuinely agnostic of any type of medium or channel or approach or anything like that. It was just the right piece of content, or that was the right story or platform for the client, and it just kept on delivering. And so our most successful campaigns that we've done, and there are a lot like it since, we've had 1 million clients come to us and ask for their own Dumb Ways to Die, which we say no to now. We said yes a couple of times, and that was a mistake.
Why? Because it's hard to replicate.
You can't replicate.
Right?
I mean, you can't. In a pitch, we can replicate and we can tell you what all the reasons for the success of it are. But the truth is, it's very hard to isolate the success of any one piece of content or any one campaign. When it all gels and it's genuinely right for the customer, it's right for the brand, and it's genuinely agnostic. It's just finding the best channels that you can exploit creatively. That's when it all works.
I think so. One of the interesting things you talk about is hard to replicate, and you look at Unilever's work for Skechers and Dove, and they were up there with probably above you in terms of the numbers, 400 million views, etc., etc. But it was all driven by a paid media strategy, even though it was a viral thing. And the expectations, I was in Cannes this year, and I was around a CMO round table, and there was two journos, it was myself and the Wall Street Journal, and they were all talking about viral, and then the Wall Street Journal journo piped up and said, we have a policy now where we always ask the CMOs what component of this content, this viral content, was actually paid, because to get the distribution, to get the exposure, you've got to do paid media to get your viral. So there's an interesting kind of wash up there. Russell's got some interesting views. I'm going to come back to it in a second. These guys are talking about content. You have, so that was just saying, hang in there, Russ. No, I'm going to lead you to the big bang. So you've got you're the big Channel 10 guy.
Finale.
But you've got content businesses. These guys are saying hard to make bucks out of content. You've created some stuff that's around that. Or do you concur that the economics are difficult?
The economics are different. I think that's absolutely true. Traditional agencies with creative departments, they're not good at it. That they're much more used to a 30-second, 15-second kind of dynamic. The Dumb Ways to Die example is a fantastic idea of brilliant content, which I don't know whether it was financially rewarding or not, but certainly rewarding from a content point of view. So the economics of those businesses are very different, but I think that's true, and it has been true for quite a while now that, and you guys are selling it that way, right? Every screen is a TV screen, so to speak, and I've been arguing that for years. All the best, digital case studies that we're doing at camp, all rich video content. What do we call it now? Motion and video, or, there's all sorts of different words, but it's still the most dynamic, fantastic piece of distribution that you can have is in that video format, and the music of Dumb Ways to Die was the killer sort of app of all that. So we've got different units that are discrete to the agencies themselves, because they do really struggle under the construct of agency sort of legacy and the way clients want to pay for it, right? There's another aspect of that, and the TV production industry, particularly in the 30-second TVC land, is struggling probably more with that, where they go to next, because there's less money and more demand for more video. So I think it's a big opportunity, but it's the economics of that business have changed hugely over the years.
The issue of content seems to swing, or swing from one extreme to the other. So it's a 30-second ad or it's a television program. Yet there is an enormous scope in between. So when you
and that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. So the TV show, conceptually, yes, and we would normally partner with guys like you on that, because
it's really hard.
You also need
Has it been one successful?
You need a time slot and a screen, right? But no, I would argue that most of those local shows that you call them today are all advertising funded, right? I mean, they're littered with
product placement stuff,
right?
Yeah.
So
when you produce a 30-second ad, how much content do you wind up with?
Huge amounts. Huge amounts. So we've just finished the Qantas stuff, for example.
Yeah,
it must be. Yerka, you're
true.
Here. How many? There's a 2-minute spot which you guys have been running, which is nice, but there's hours of it, right?
24 hours.
24 hours, right.
And see, one of the things, back to the point about New Zealand, as an example, we do have a production arm. We do have very cost-effective production capability. If the creative message is set around the 30-second spot, and you've got 2 hours of content, what did you say,
24 hours.
24 hours of content. It's easy to create content extensions that can then play across multiple screens.
Yeah, totally.
And I think that's really the key to it.
Yeah, as long as the main bit of content that launches, which in Qantas's case was brilliant. So too, something we've done for David Jones, the spot with Goodsy, got a lot of attention, and there was loads of content produced off the back of that, with each of the ambassadors. As long as that bit's up the top's great, I think people will be interested in below. Yeah. But I think I'm really into partnering with people who really know how to do this stuff. It's not so much the economics for me, it's about what's going to produce the best content. And you guys are better at doing that than what we are.
But when you say it's not so much about the economics, because you're not concerned about trying to make a quid out of the content down here, is that what you're saying, Paul?
No, I can make money out of that.
Right.
There's means and ways of doing it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, there is.
Right.
Yeah.
Russ, so you've been in creative agencies, you're in television, you're seeing the whole thing. Give us your take on what you're seeing going on, and you've got some conversations happening with creative agencies too, I think.
Yeah, well, I just think maybe the broad thing to say is that it's very important for brands and for the Australian public that the creative fraternity gets closer to media. because they need to be influencing the creative agencies that are representing brands. They need to do their best to get involved and influence the content and influence what is being seen for the very, very simple reason that they're really good at it. Yeah? And so what happens if we don't have creative people involved in the generation of content, it can be very dull, right? So for me, it's quite a simple equation that we need to work really hard at trying to get creative people engaged. I like this idea of UX TV, right? So like there's got to be another level that the creative fraternity can apply to screens to make the user experience better for the public and better for the brands. I think haven't even scratched the surface of what can happen there. I haven't got any ideas, but just apply creative skill to that. It was very interesting. It was actually triggered by Robert Morgan at the Umbrella conference a few months ago when he said there's an entire generation of advertising people. I'm with him on this. I don't call it creative agencies, advertising agencies. There's an entire generation of advertising agency people that have never been to a TV station, which of course is true, right?
Very true.
So I rang him up and said, well, how about Clemenger come down to our station in Melbourne? So we had the Clemenger group in, we went into the studio and we gave a presentation around television, around the power of television, and just gave them some basic numbers. Yeah, so, let's not forget 14.5 million Australians turn on the telly every single goddamn day, right? The opportunity to see powerful communication has been lost, I think, by a lot of the creative community. It's bizarre that that's happened, but it has happened. And so we're rolling through agencies, through the studio, and trying, if you like, really hard to engage the creative community with the data around television, but also the fact that we need them. I genuinely believe it, so that we can actually get better stuff to look at. Yeah?
Totally, yeah.
And even if it's back to the 30-second brand ad, Paul, for Christ's sake, when was the last decent one of those we saw?
Yeah.
And that obviously enhances. And just one more thing, if I may.
You can.
The best thing that's happened for clients is passive viewing of television, right? So we all know that what's going on now is I've got the telly on, I might have my iPad, and I'll probably have my phone as well. And this isn't just for teenagers, this is happening across the board. This is good news because the TV just stays on. It's good news for advertisers. The remote control doesn't get used, right? Whatever channel is on will stay on. You therefore have the opportunity to cut through with great advertising. And I think that opportunity we need to really talk about that, because that opportunity exists now better than it has ever. And then, of course, if you cut through on the telly, you've got a device to immediately react to what you've seen. Yeah. So the line of sight from television ad to sale now is instant, whereas when I started in the business, we spent most of our time trying to justify running a telly ad. We don't have to fucking do that now. Yeah? You can get a sale. You can certainly get a search.
Ben, what do you say to that? And we'll wrap up in about 3 minutes. So.
Which part?
Which part? Well, the point around television, that your young creatives, for instance, not even essentially knowing how to spell television, let alone being inside one. Is that true? And is it moved on? How do you do you buy that?
Well, I think, it was only a couple of years ago that people were predicting the rapid demise or death of free-to-air television, and all the networks have done a very good job of recreating themselves as more integrated kind of entertainment platforms, if you like, whatever the buzzword is. And also, the content is so much better now. So I agree that, most ads obviously are terrible, including our own probably, although not as terrible as most other agencies. So, I think that creatively our guys, when it comes to, both the TV medium, but also thinking about video content, they're still just trying to create genuinely compelling video that's not just going to stand out in the what is much better TV content now, but it's also going to stop people, when they're swiping down the Facebook page, or that people might actually actively seek out or share on YouTube. And sometimes we do that really well and sometimes we do it poorly.
Can I say one more thing?
You can.
I think we also have to acknowledge that TV production costs in an advertising sense do not have to be like they used to be. You actually can get people on the telly for not very much money at all. We sell to, we do some direct selling. we'll get an individual with his business or her business on television for $35,000, which will include the ad. We had this great guy, this entrepreneur with his Next Pair website to buy shoes. He spent $35,000 with us, and his website traffic went up 1,000%, smashed his search engine twice. He's now fixed his search engine. He's now bought a national campaign, 75 grand, and he's on his way to make his first million. Yeah, so I think it is absolutely beholden on the creative and the media suppliers to say to their clients, you need to be on the telly and we're going to find a way. Because all the other stuff is very fragmented and a lot of it is nonsense.
Totally.
Mike, and you'll finish with you.
Oh, I mean,
On this stuff here.
I'm very disappointed to hear Russell running down the industry because he's the voice of reason on that group.
Not running down the industry at all.
Telling there's no good ads on at the moment. There was a woman, a woman from one of the big media agencies spoke at the AANA conference last week, and the topic of her speech, it was a great talk, but the topic of her talk was no one cares about advertising, and I just think that's absolute bullshit. Right? I think people really do care about advertising, and the advertising can be fantastic. Yeah. And I've got 4 kids, and they all know the songs, and they all know the ads. And I went and just did a speech at my 8-year-old's year 2, what does Dad do for work? And they all knew the ads. Yeah. And so I just think it's absolute bullshit that people don't like advertising. I hadn't sort of thought about that one before, that people don't have their hand on the remote control anymore. Yeah. And that's a brilliant point. So, I'm a huge believer in TV as a mass medium. I loved the talk at the other AANA
The
function
tyranny of
last
targeting,
week
right.
about the Rolex watch.
Yes,
right?
fantastic. Yep.
If you believed in the tyranny, this hyper-targeting model, there's only 2% of the world's population who could possibly ever buy a Rolex. But if they didn't sponsor Wimbledon and the ballet and all the things that they do, no one will want to wear one or want to buy one. And they need that mass medium to get their message out there. And I think, I'm a believer that what we do makes the world go round.
Thank God it's swinging back that way, Mike.
Big time.
Yes. Well, thank you. Put your hands together. Thank you, guys.